Brad Williams, Excel Prime. In this tutorial, we're an introduction to conditional formatting. Let me start the discussion here. I am not a fan of conditional formatting. I've been working with conditional formatting for way too long. I don't want to dwell too much time on it, but here's a suggestion. Hit Control S on a frequent basis. Be very, very, very strong in terms of understanding absolute reference, mixed reference, and relative reference. Otherwise, your conditional formatting is going to crash. And if it does, and you have other workbooks open, you know the problem. It's just going to create hell. And that's just part of dealing with this legacy program. With that being said, conditional formatting is up here in the ribbon. Over here on the right, you can read about conditional formatting. Because I have a conditional format over here on the left, I'm just going to click an empty cell just to show you what's going on. Conditional formatting is a bunch of different capabilities. Excel doesn't explain the bugs, and that is if you have a range of information that incorporates case a greater than or equal to, you're going to have to use relative and absolute reference. You're seeing here, we have an absolute reference around J7. If that data is not correct, or even if it is correct, there's a strong possibility that this thing's going to crash on you. This is a simple example. That being said, you're going to look at the different rules. Here's our conditional format. Sorry, I didn't explain that to you. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to highlight cells of greater than J7. Here, anything greater than 15, we're going to use this conditional format. We're going to stuff this inside the rules. So we're going to set up a rule. We could use highlight cells greater than. You probably could use this. We're going to set up our own rule. And we're going to hit Manage Rules. And if you're doing this on your own, without this preset, you would go in and you would say New Rule. You would go use formula to determine which cell to format. You would grab this data, B5 equals, and make sure it's exact. And if you copy it, make sure it comes out correctly. If you do elect to copy paste, you need to copy paste before you start this conditional format. In other words, I can't copy paste this information if I didn't copy paste beforehand. I did before. I think it was an old formula, so I can just go in and type in J7. Let's see what happens. If you try to move, this thing is very sensitive. So the only way, you can't use arrows to move around in a conditional format. Another reason I hate this model. I'll just be very candid. I just don't like conditional formatting. Control V. If you go in, you have to hit J, then hit delete, and then you have to take your mouse to move using your mouse. You hit the delete button, but you can't use the arrows to move left or right. That will set up the conditional format. You can hit OK. If you want a color, and here I put yellow, you can change whatever color. That will set up your conditional format. But here, look, if I hit OK, and I hit OK, you're going to see format only applies to N13. That really doesn't serve us much purpose. The idea is to get an understanding of conditional formatting. So here, we're going to go in, we're going to manage rules, and we're going to delete the rule. And here's our data. Here's our list of information. So what you need to do, a couple things. You want to highlight your range. You want to then just copy this information. Or maybe you want to copy this information first. Copy, hit escape, then highlight, then go to conditional formatting, hit new rule. And here, because I have a rule in place, I'm not going to hit new rule. I'm going to show you the rule the way I set it up. You hit new rule. I'm going to hit manage rules. And you're going to see by highlighting this range, it's going to preset here in the new rule. You can hit edit rule, Here's your B5 to J7. Here's the color. You hit format. And then it applies to, and this is the range that I set up. The conditional formatting will build that in. Recognize this B5 to G15. Your relative and conditional formatting isn't so important over here because there's no changes here. It applies to this information here, B5 to J7. If the formula is wrong, you could have all kinds of problems. And I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. Remove the absolute values here, and you're going to see when you try to do this, this J7 is going to go all over the place. But you're going to learn by experience. I'm just explaining to you how this applies. So I don't need to do this any further. I'm just going to hit this X to get out of it. Here, because I put an F9, you can see the yellow, all the numbers should be greater than 15. I don't guarantee it, but that's an introduction to conditional formatting. We're going to experiment with a lot of different conditional formats. That's a start. Brad Williams, XL Prime. Thank you.